Hello friends, I'm so happy you've popped by because today you can join me for some arty downtime. As I make this video, the season that surrounds me is wintry, which for my part of the country means grey skies, frosty mornings and lots of rain, but mixed in with the most beautiful low winter suns, which are so bright sometimes I cannot see where I'm going, which is, yes, slightly perilous, but somehow I haven't bumped into anyone or fallen down a pothole yet. Anywho, as much as our bodies pass through the seasons, I feel like our creativity does too, and that's what this video waffle-a-thon is going to be mulling on. For the past month or so, my creativity has been in what I see as its winter gathering phase. This is when I want to retreat into myself that bit more, craving quiet headspace in which I can be bored and mind-wandery, and yet also I softly seek out inspirations to store in my creative hamster cheeks for later when the spring exploration phase arrives. In winter gathering phase, it's more about the looking and the seeking than it is about the making. It's about having no pressure to create, but an openness to seeing if I want to. Have you noticed yourself stepping into a phase like this every so often? I really do think creativity moves in cycles. It cannot flow in the same way all of the time. It needs moments to recuperate and recharge. And the winter season of our creativity is when we can gather the fuel that we need for the seasons ahead. And what is the best gatherer of creative fuel? Our curiosity. Now, I called this video Analogish Art Days because at the start of our creative cycle, within our winter gathering especially, there's a lot of joy to be had in peeling ourselves away from screens. So much of art and craft is wonderfully practical and hands-on anyway, so letting ourselves play with real-world craft materials gives us those analogue moments of disconnection from the wider world. It's definitely what I've been doing more of in my wintry creative hibernation, and I'll be sharing a few of those arty wanderings as we go along. But the reason I say analogue-ish is because we are now living in a world where it is very difficult to be fully analogue and fully disconnected, and we shouldn't feel bad about that. Most of us cannot afford to go completely off-grid because we need to stay contactable for our families and jobs. And while there are so very many reasons to be worried about where tech may be leading us, I think it's important we keep in sight how it connects us and gives us access to so much we wouldn't otherwise be able to learn about. After all, I wouldn't be able to be talking with you now without it. So why don't we try it for being analogue-ish? We can seek out the grounding benefits of analoginess, that calmer, quieter feeling that we get from the physicality of using real-world tools and resources when we can, but also allow the positive pockets of the internet to be part of our inspiration toolkit. Analogish art days mean that we can take a class online or find artists that we love on social media and get inspired by what we see. They're an amazing resource for our curious minds, especially when we're in our winter gathering phase. But then the key is to take that on-screen inspiration and make it into something tangible. On Instagram, I spotted a post by an artist called Mandy Evans, and I just really wanted to have a go at creating a similar artwork because it looked so cool. I really enjoyed the overlaying of patterns and lines on the watercolours, which were laid down in long, wiggly swooshes. And so I gave it a go, with no other intention than to enjoy the making moments that it gave me. I thoroughly enjoyed laying down the watercolour, creating simple gradients within the pools of colour. And then I used a purple fine liner pen to draw over them with any old pattern that came to mind. The greeny-yellow smoosh reminded me of a long creature as the lines went on. The purpley-blue smoosh felt more like a night sky, so I couldn't resist adding in a town skyline and then creating mountains on one side and a wave-like form on the other. And I added in a white gel pen near the end to bring out more of the lines on the darkest areas. Now this was something that completely absorbed me for a couple of hours and the time just evaporated as I made it. I took a Skillshare class by Clarissa Grandy about how to create geometric stitching artworks, and then I had to have a go at it. She provided a template to use for creating the holes in the paper, which was so helpful, and pushing holes into paper is somehow very satisfying in itself. So thank you, Clarissa, for the excuse to do just that. Then I chose a deep pink thread for the first layer of stitches and got going. I only got muddled a couple of times through the whole make, and that was only when I'd popped up through the wrong hole, so I only had to backtrack a couple of stitches and then all was well again. I had music playing and I found myself just zoning out completely, focused only on the stitches and the joy of seeing the lines forming one by one. It's so cool, isn't it, how these rhythmic, crisscrossing lines can become something so visually interesting. I think there is something about the geometry which is also just quite soothing in itself. It's thoughtful, predictable, and full of logic, which creates its own beauty. Once I'd created a pattern with the pink thread, I wanted to overlay it with an extra pattern made with gold thread. I did get slightly muddled at one point with this, as the holes were a little harder to keep track of, but I got there in the end and I really like how it looks. And lastly, I couldn't resist using some metallic golden watercolour to paint some leaves into the blank pockets. I really liked having some organic swirly forms in amongst all of those straight lines. It just felt so very pleasing to do. Would you like to try and make an origami dog with me? Yeah? I was given this little activity pack at Christmas, and winter gathering is a perfect time to use it in. Now, just please give me some patience with this, my friends, because I gotta tell you, it did not go to plan. Firstly, I pulled out the pieces of paper, which there were lots of and in 2 sizes, so that was really good, and the instructions. It said there was a video tutorial available, but I'm a gal who will happily follow a set of instructions like it's a challenge, so at first I figured I would do just that and see how it went. Well, it didn't go far, because it began by saying that I had to have the logo on the paper facing up and the head at the top, which made no sense because there were no logos to be seen anywhere and no clear head area on the print. It also wasn't clear which patterns were meant to be for which type of dog, which isn't bad in itself. I mean, they can just have any fur colour after all. But some looked like they were gridded for particular folds, so it just made me wonder. So I scanned the QR code for the tutorial, and all I got was a blank white screen. I did try it on 2 different devices just in case, but nope, all I got was a whole lot of nothing. Double So, back to the instructions, I just figured I'd have to take a punt that I had the paper around the right way. Seeing as they provided so many pieces of paper, at least if I got the first one terribly wrong, I would have plenty of other pieces to have other attempts with, right? To begin with, I felt like I was kinda making sense of it, despite the instructions being a bit odd at times. It would say stuff like, fold along the dotted line, when there seemed to be absolutely no dotted lines anywhere. So I just had to guess and use my origami common sense, which who knew I had? I would say that this make got progressively weirder as it went along. I don't want to say worse because, hey, I was trying my best, and I think I was certainly hampered by a set of vague instructions. But this doggo definitely did not come out looking like the one on the packet, and, by the way, the dogs on the packet have eyeballs. Where are the eyeballs on these papers? I feel like I got eyeball swizzed.
I can't. What is it? What is it? I'm getting hysterical. I don't know what I'm doing. This doesn't make any sense. These instructions are so confusing. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Right, okay. You will start to see, will I? The shape of the dash and form now. Will I? Next, fold the tail down as shown. It's not shown. does it want me to do? Maybe if I just shove it in there. And then it's going to come back again. Hang on a minute. That is actually okay. That is how it's meant to look. Its bottom is fine. There we go. It stands.
I mean, sometimes you just have to let the giggles overwhelm you and enjoy the pure ridiculousness of where you've unwittingly ended up. This first attempt is meant to be a dachshund. Would you believe it? And you know what? I'm not saying it completely doesn't, because I think it is more or less in the right direction. It looks a little bit like Packet Dog. But oh my goodness though, doesn't it look so much sadder? It just looks a bit rumply, and the weird white patch on the head makes that bit look inside out. Oh dear, never mind. I did try a second one just to try and prove to myself that I could do better. And I mean, I don't know. I got equally as confused with some of the instructions for this one, so it's not completely clean. I don't know where the ears disappeared to. Absolute mystery. But these are my two little weirdos. They're kind of cute, despite having gone through the confusion of creation. I think I'll probably use the rest of the papers for other creative stuff though, because this activity pack is baffling. Whenever your creative winter sets in, I hope you can use it for gathering the rest and fuel that you need. Whilst mine at this moment has coincided with actual winter, creative winters will happen throughout the year, no matter how sunny the weather may turn. Cycles can be rhythmic, but rhythms can change. When your mind needs the rest, let it sit back for a while and wander off. You don't have to be isolated in creative winters. You can step into the real world and soak up inspirations in so many different ways. Thank you for spending these art days with me. I love that we get to share so many creative things together. Let me know what you do when your creativity wants to take a back seat for a while. Does the thought of winter gathering make sense to you too? Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, let me know if you'd like to see future Analogish Art Days videos for the other creative seasons, spring, summer and autumn. Each season brings different energies, so if you'd like to explore them with me, just give a holler. Stay curious, keep making happy, and I'll see you next time.